Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you guys are here today on this fine Tuesday, April 28th, 1 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, thanks for jumping on. Let us know where you guys are coming in from in the chat. Hopefully, you guys can chat well. So let's test the chat out. Grab everyone. See if that's getting rolling here. Hopefully, the chat's working. Anybody? There you go. We got Aaron with the chat. So let's see if everybody else can get in there on that. Okay, beautiful. Let's go, Connecticut. What's up, Jacob? Good to see you, man. This is
Close
a good
by,
one for you
Jacob.
guys. Awesome. Great. All right. What part of sunny Florida are we talking about here? That's my old hood, depending on where it is. Look, we're all over the place.
Hey,
Glad
Phil, Aldo, good to see you.
West Palm. Let's go. Good deal. Well, thank you guys for joining. We'll just give everybody a second here. What's up, Matt? Good to see you, man. Glad you're jumping on this one. This is a good to have you here. Um, yeah, welcome, welcome. Got some old faces here. So, yeah, let me just get this kicked off here with a little, preface. Some years ago, I had partnered with Greg Hain and oh, Tennessee. I'm about to move there to Franklin, so we'll see you soon. Um, we did this series called Unlocking Service Growth. And Greg Hain and I probably did about 10, I would say, over the course of 1.5, 2 years. Really well attended, well received, and it kind of it was something that STG kind of added residential to our repertoire, and it took my eye off of that commercial focus. Sorry about that. And Greg Hain is we love him. He's still around. He's still doing what he's doing, but he's kind of focusing on some different types of work. And so Aaron and I met a few years ago at IRE, and I was like, awesome, we got a new player on the market with technology, and this is exactly what the industry needs. And as we got to know each other, I was like, I want to get this rev back up, unlocking service growth series. And I asked Aaron to partner, and I asked Greg to hand the baton, and it was all smooth and great. And so we are. This is our second one, but maybe our first real one. It feels like we really promoted it and got the word out. So, and we have a real guest today in Stephanie Osborn, a true believer in the things that both Aaron and myself are doing and preaching and sharing in the industry, and they have the results to prove it. So, very excited for you guys to learn today. Aaron, glad you're here with me, man.
Excited to be here, Ryan. And I think bringing up Greg Hain is a nice way to kind of introduce Stephanie too. She kind of threads the connection between everyone. She is works with Greg Hain, works with you, works with us, and really excited to have her share her story. But Ryan, like you said, we're early on in kind of reinvigorating this webinar series, but I'm really jazzed up about it. I think it's the right topic, and bringing on the right people to speak to their success and also the trials and tribulations is it's the right forum for that.
Heck yeah. So, Stephanie, thanks for jumping on and taking the time to share. In this prep interview we did, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much gold here. Our audience is going to absolutely love this. It's so practical and helpful, and it comes from true experience. So, we're eager to hear you share. But you're not coming in from East Texas today, are you?
No, I'm actually live in New York today. I'm hanging out in the Tyrael office here with Aaron, who was nice enough to give me some space so I could talk to everybody while I was up here.
That's awesome. Sweet. Yeah, it's a great time of year to be there, I bet. That's awesome. Well, without further ado, I think we've given everybody a chance to jump on. So thank you guys for jumping on. If you haven't shared where you're from, drop that in the chat. Some rules for this. We do plan on making some space for questions, but I don't want you to hesitate to ask any questions throughout this presentation. We may have an appropriate time to answer that question. But we want everybody to get all their questions answered to ultimately help you guys make revenue predictable to grow your commercial business. And have a lot of fun. So let me get this thing whipped out here. Got it. So I'm in present mode. Everybody see this okay? We
Yes,
rock
sir.
and roll. Cool. So unlocking service growth is a series, so expect more in the future from us. But this is titled from, after speaking with Stephanie, three pillars uh, to go from reactive revenue to repeatable growth. How Avco went from transactional roofing to a relationship-driven, repeatable revenue model. Does that sound good to you guys? Does this sound like a great state to be in? Give me some activity in the chat. Give me a little like a fire emoji or something that lets me know that that is what we're looking for. You guys all engaged in that what we want? I hope so. It's what we want. Let's hear it. Come on, more emojis. Yes, more emojis. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we'll get right into it. Um, so, Aaron, why don't you let us know what we're going to be learning today with Stephanie?
So today, we're fortunate to have someone who's done it, grown and scaled her business from 0 to north of 10 million. So today we're going to talk really about the foundation. So, why is the status quo reactive and not proactive when it comes to building your book of business? We're also going to talk about the shift in perspective and mentality required to kind of make that shift that Stephanie has seen from chasing jobs to building those long-term relationships. And Stephanie actually has some really awesome real tactics for how you can go about doing this, regardless of what market you're in. She's in the Texas market. I see people from all over the country here. So excited to see kind of some of her tactics applied in your market. And then the inevitable or the elusive repeatable customer. I know we all understand how service is like this recurring work revenue workflow for you, but how do you turn non-service customer relationships into repeat customers? So there's a lot of art and some science to doing that. And then we're going to talk about qualification. That's something that, Ryan has a great playbook on. Stephanie has done a great job at implementing this, but not everyone who you work with or who asks you for a bid is the right customer for you. And how do you more systematically qualify your customers? This is going to be really, really important to making sure that you're getting high margin revenue in your business. And then we'll also just talk about operational discipline. This is not about technology per se. Technology is a part of the solution in helping drive processes and help with discipline. But what Stephanie has managed to do requires a lot of operational wherewithal and discipline that involves tech and non-tech. So those are just a few of the things we're going to cover today.
That's awesome. So well said. So who is this for? This is a training that's for you if you are tired of revenue swings year to year, if you rely heavily on restoration, GC bids, or being low and competitive on price and trying to be a low price service provider. If you want more repeat commercial clients, if you are trying to break past the revenue plateau and you want stability without sacrificing margin. Which one of these, if this any of these here jump out, I'd love to hear you put in the chat or write in the chat. Which one of these are you really connecting with? That's like, man, that's for me. You hit me right between the eyes here. This is exactly why I'm here because I want to get past this or this is what I'm looking for. If you want to drop that in, that'd be great. We have time for that. Yep. Thanks, gentlemen. Michael, James, appreciate that. It's good, Aldo. Good. Yeah, well, this is for you. You're in the right place. Um, this is not for you if you only want storm work. So that's your model. Just go ahead and sign off. This is definitely not for you. And there's some guys I see on Facebook that are like, my sales rep made $17 million last week, with these big checks, and they're doing all these storm. That's great. It works for some people. It doesn't, it's not what I think most people really want. They want sustainable, consistent revenue. And so this isn't for you if that's the case. If you're struggling and you're just a bidding shop that's trying to just compete on price and not sell the value, I think that's not for you. If are not interested in long-term client relationships and you want to kind of just go for the grand slam and get a big job and then but maybe not have an account. So the next one would be like, if you believe more bids equals more growth, this session's about building a business that lasts, not chasing the next job. So Aaron, I'll kick it to you on this one.
Absolutely. I think the key thing we all understand here is that starting your business from zero every year and having to kind of build those relationships, get that book of business up from zero every year it's tiring. It's not scalable, and it feels like you're kind of behind the eight ball year in, year out. So, most commercial roofing contractors that we work with at Tyrael at least do struggle to kind of build this recurring book of business, and it ends up being a little bit more reactive, right? You're kind of following up with leads perhaps from many years ago, finding out if now is the right time for them to invest in their roof. But you don't necessarily have this kind of engine that's going to be self-fulfilling. I think one of the things that Ryan just mentioned is that, storm cycles do sometimes dictate the revenue and how you're going to perform year in, year out. One of the big things that we're going to talk about is qualifying. There are a lot of scenarios where maybe storm work, even if it's plentiful in your market, might not be the right work to take on. Regardless of how high your revenue goes, if your profit margin is just slipping by, that's not going to be effective for your business model. We're also kind of going to talk about how perception is not always reality. Public work, I know sometimes it gets a certain reputation. There are a lot of scenarios where public work can lead to a lot higher margin outcomes for your team. And that doesn't sound intuitive necessarily if you're thinking about what traditional public work jobs entail, but public work can open the doors for a lot of other things for you as well. Um, and really, kind of where I want to lead us and where I think Stephanie's going to help drive the conversation here is how do you have a diversified portfolio of revenue streams for your business? And how does that kind of lead into more predictable outcomes year in, year out? And I think it's going to be a little bit different per contractor, but hopefully a lot of what we discover in this session is that what Stephanie has done, some of the tools that Ryan has within his arsenal, these are all things that are going to help you in your market kind of get away from that reactive revenue um, predisposition. So that's kind of what we want to talk about here. Ryan, maybe you want to add on to any of that?
Yeah, I mean, there's just been a lot of commercial roofers that are living in this place, and what's cool about Stephanie is that I think it was probably like 6 years ago, maybe. Um, I feel like a real veteran in this industry now when I start talking like that. Long time ago. No, but seriously, they started to truly take some of the stuff to heart to like say, what are the variables that we can kind of control and focus on over a long period of time that would make revenue more predictable versus reactive? And that reactive nature and the type of client you're focusing on and how you respond to them and how you go about getting work will cause you to be in this roller coaster ride of unpredictability versus like some things you can really focus on and control that over time will compound into repeatable, predictable revenue. And I'm just excited for Stephanie to really just break it down. So this is a problem that we see often and that we're wanting to fix. So
And
a
Ryan,
lot.
one thing I'll
Yeah.
just really quickly just touch on, it relates to both these slides, is I think one of the key problems that I think everyone on this call can agree on is like historical data or inconsistent data. So not knowing kind of what was bid on a few years ago, what that conversation was, and not having that data at your fingertips leads you to go down the wrong rabbit or go down rabbit holes that are going to be inefficient for your team. If you know that someone is not going to, they have a roof in great condition, you shouldn't reach out to them necessarily for a roof replacement next year or even in the next 2, 3 years. You should be trying to service them in other ways. A lot of that data and having kind of access to the data at your fingertips, whether it's in a CRM or in another system that you built, is really, really key to getting away from this reactive culture.
Yeah, this a couple other things that are interesting is like if you're a commercial roofer, you know that people are inviting you to bid, right? You have all these options. You're getting invited to bid just about anything. And it's like, I don't know if new construction is always going to be there. That's cyclical. Like there's things that are just not always consistent, but um, kind of if you think about like the Kentucky Derby, they have these horses. I like to say, let's bet on the horse always there, if that's the name of the horse, because what's always going to be there? It's existing buildings that are leaking that need to be repaired and replaced. And if that's who we're focusing on primarily with our go to market strategy, that starts to create more predictability. But anyway, excited to talk about this shift and get a real life application and go from reactive to predictable, which is relationship driven, qualification first, repeat client heavy, service supported, and diversified strategically. So, if you guys don't know me, I'm Ryan Groth. I have a good amount of experience working with contractors since 2018, and for since 2013, I actually started. It was a part of a tech company that was bootstrapped. It's still in existence today. Before I left and started this business, so have a lot of fun doing it at STG with our team of coaches and our tools. If you guys haven't met Aaron.
Thank you, Ryan. Hey, everyone. For those I haven't met, I'm Aaron Weinstein, CEO, co-founder of Tyrael. And at Tyrael, we are a workflow automation platform for commercial roofers. In short, we help manage everything from the lead and the pipeline through service and maintenance work, and then production job costing and large-scale project management. We're fortunate to work with Stephanie and her team at Avco Roofing. They've been with us for well over a year at this point, and I'm excited to also be partnered up with Ryan and Sales Transformation Group to really help push best practices on the sales team.
Let's go. And Stephanie, we've kind of been holding you back until now. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are, and we'll let you take it from here.
Hey, so I'm Stephanie. I'm the CEO over at Avco Commercial. As you can see, there's a nice little slide about me, but the short version is that I started as a project manager at Avco, probably one of the lowest people on the totem pole that I could have been at the time. And I worked my way up through the company, and I had a pretty unique perspective for how things worked because I came up through the production side rather than through the sales or the estimation side. So I just got an opportunity to see things a little differently. And I think a lot of that perspective is what ultimately led to the way that we operate the business today. Um, and I'm just really excited to be here. One of my favorite things about being part of the roofing industry is how willing everyone is to help one another and give advice and best practices. So I would just encourage you take what works, adapt the things that make sense for your company today. And if it doesn't work or it doesn't make sense, don't do it.
Boom. Awesome. And yeah, one of the great stories in that in our industry. So it's been awesome to see this continue to grow and sustain over there. So um, yeah, we're gonna cover three pillars. And Stephanie, I'll let you just speak away.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the three pillars that we're going to talk about today are how you can work to choose the right customer for you. As I saw in the chat earlier, someone was talking about how they wanted to find like a match that was great for both parties. That's a perfect way to look at this, right? If it's not a win for you, it's not going to be a win for the customer either. So that's why pre-qualification for your company is going to be so important. The second is going to be how you can build revenue through relationships. So that's going to be how you can leverage strategic partnerships with the customers, other contractors, marketing, and just the people that are around you in the industry. And then the third is going to be how you can engineer stability through some alternatives that you might not have thought of in terms of business.
Love it.
Okay, so choosing the right customers. So your process is going to start with one really simple question, which is what kind of company do you want to be? For us, when we looked at it, we had core values from our residential company that kind of already existed when we started the commercial company. And one of the big ones for us was that we wanted to impact our communities. Another one was that we wanted to take care of each other, and that extended outside of the organization. And then the third was that we felt like we existed to transform lives. That was to transform the lives of the people who came through the door every day because we wanted everybody that came to Avco to leave better than they came to us, whether that was through education or work opportunities or just the opportunity to be around other people that were like-minded to them. Um, but it also meant that we wanted to transform the lives of the customers that we worked with. And for a lot of people, putting a roof on feels like it's just kind of an everyday practice. But the truth is that you're really impacting the businesses that you're working with. You're giving the owners peace of mind. You're giving the tenants peace of mind. And you have a chance to work with them and create like a lifelong relationship, whether that's through them as a customer, as a friend, as a contact, or even an industry partner in the future. Um, so when we were choosing what we felt was the best fit for us as a company, keeping in mind that we were focusing on how we could impact our community and how we could take care of one another, we felt like the customer that was going to be best for us were property owners that owned more than one property, property management groups, or people that were specifically targeting corporate spending or CapEx expenses. That's going to be a little different for everybody. It's going to, like I said, it's going to depend a lot on what company you want to be and what kind of work you want to do. But really, what we wanted when we were looking at our customer base was someone who cared about having quality work installed. A lot of times, whenever you're dealing with service based industries, it feels like it could be a race to the bottom. Most customers seem to be looking for whoever's cheapest, the least expensive option, because they want the pain to stop and they want it to stop today, but they don't want to invest a lot of money into making that happen. That's not the right customer for us. We wanted people who were looking for the right solutions, who understood long term vision and investment on the properties that they owned, who desired clear and consistent communication from the contractors that they were working with, and that they were intelligent, educated, and rational people to deal with.
Mm. That's some good
So,
stuff.
whenever, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no,
Sorry, I was gonna ask. Oh, sorry, Ryan. I was gonna ask you a question on getting to the right customer. I know you had a set of values. I'm imagining that there was some experimentation early on where you might have taken a project for the wrong type of customer and then you learned the hard way. Can you talk to me about how you might do things differently from the early days in terms of A/B testing and experimentation with that right customer type?
Yeah, absolutely. We have taken more than our fair share of like wrong customer, wrong projects because whenever you're trying to start a company and you're trying to get a division off of the ground, right? Like you're kind of willing to do anything for anybody that needs it. And we did more than a few projects that we lost money on, right? And sometimes it was because we thought that it was best, right? Because maybe it felt like a capital project that we could put our name on, and so then we could tell other people in the community like, oh look, we're such a good company because we did the conference center that went up, or we did the city hall building, right? But the truth is like sometimes it's just the wrong job for you. And so I think the thing that I would have done differently is I would have done this evaluation a lot sooner. I would imagine most of the people that are in this seminar today, it's probably too late to do that from day one, but you can do it today. And like that's really the biggest thing for me is that I would have sat down 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when we were really trying to get this division up and running. And instead of saying, like, oh, we just want to sign contracts so that we can start the company, um, I wish we had sat down back then and said, what kind of company do we want to be? What kind of customer do we want to work for? And how can we be our best for them? And just done that from day one, right? Because there was a lot of pain and suffering and change that was required to get us to this point that we are today, because we had to like go back and fix a lot of things that we were doing wrong, or maybe not wrong, but things that I felt that we were doing wrong.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's good.
Appreciate that.
It's so important. And I think that when you start to describe the companies that you want to work for and who your customer is, you realize that like there's going to be people that as you're interviewing them and as you're getting if you know that specifically who you're working with, a tip is don't assume everybody is like that. You have to actually ask questions that those answers that they're giving you line up with who you're wanting to work with. Because, I mean, you guys could probably do the math, but to get a proposal, out the door, it's probably going to cost you $2,000 to $3,000 and like, labor and time and estimate. And, those resources for one cost the company money. But if they're in a not so profitable environment, you're not really going to get a good return. But if you are diligent on working with the people that appreciate spending a little bit more to have quality work and great communication that you're willing to provide and you serve them with, then they're happy, you're happy, and you get more of those same customers, right? That's kind of like, one good customer gets you the next good customer, is that whole idea versus just trying to bid everything we can and get any work we can. So yeah, really important to define and then choose the right customers for you. So I think we covered a lot already. This is great, but let's just, kind of speak to this. Um, the problem if most commercial contractors say yes to anyone with a roof, a lot of one-off building owners, price shoppers, every GC invite, storm only work, every inbound lead, there's no filter. And the consequence is constant price pressure, low margin jobs, estimate waste, sales team burnout, revenue volatility, no repeatability. And yeah, I think you guys at Avco, it's about, you know, $2,500 to $3,000 worth of time that, just to get a bid out the door.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about how many hands have to actually touch a proposal before it makes it to the customer, we did some internal math, and it's about 27 to $2,800 for every estimate that goes out. And that's probably not even the more complicated ones that take my estimator a week to go through all the bids and the plans. This is someone went to a job site, they did an inspection, they found deficiencies. That person wants a number for the cost of a re-roof. But maybe it's not just the cost of a re-roof, right? It's the cost of a re-roof and a recover and a service estimate. And oh, what if we do 60 mil or 80 mil? And let's get a fleece back option. And maybe I want fully adhered. Or maybe we could do mechanically attached, right? It's like very few of those customers that you're dealing with that are going to be the wrong fit for your company. Um, they are not usually the ones that are simple. They're not the ones that are just going to ask you for one option and then make a decision and move on. It's going to be the people that kind of drag you and your sales team and your estimation team through the mud. And you feel like you're really working for it. And then you send your estimate in, and then they come back and they've talked to some chuck in a truck roofer who is going to undercut you by $30,000 because that guy doesn't carry GL and they don't carry workers comp and they work out of their house, right? Um, and that adds up really quickly. We look at my estimator's time no different than we look at any other commodity in the company. If it's costing us money to do this, then it doesn't make sense for us to be doing it. And every hour that my estimator or my sales team or my service technicians spend on the wrong customer's roof is costing us money because we could be working for the right customer.
Mm. So well said. So good. What do you guys think? And you guys have some you guys liking this? Is this valuable? Give us some feedback here. Is this being helpful so far? This
If
is
it's not, let me know and we can change some direction.
this is real experience. Excellent. Good, good, good. Thanks everyone for engaging. So let's talk about what happens when you choose the right customers, like for real. Like, what are the actual outcomes? When it's done right, there's less negotiation, right? They're not just, price shopping you and using you as a free estimating service and then, hiring their brother-in-law, chucking a truck, whatever.
Mhm.
You get higher margins. I mean, just like think about it. Like, if you have, let's just use a very basic example. If you have two jobs you're trying to be super competitive on and they're both, 20%, and then you have one job that's 40%. It's like the same, like one job made the amount of two jobs because you chose the right customer. Like how much less pressure that is on your business to make money, it's a big deal. And so having higher margins is everything. Where we can go until the market can bear it to deliver the value that you guys deliver and separate yourselves from everyone. When you choose the right customers, they don't want to shop you out. They want to work with you or a very close number of service providers that meet that criteria. The selling cycles are easier. You get to the decision makers easier. They usually make decisions more clearly. The pipeline is more clear because you have good communication and good qualification. So your ability to forecast the job starts is a lot cleaner and versus a bunch of jobs that don't have clarity on when they're going to close. Stronger long-term relationships, more repeat work. And so the tactical shift here, Stephanie, if you just want to speak to that like directly, I would love to hear you share.
Yeah, absolutely. The tactical shift here is really that you're now dealing with a customer base who trust you and they trust your expertise, right? So it's not a situation where they're just going to be going with whatever roofer. You are doing things that are proving your expertise in the industry. And so when you define that client profile, you are also telling your sales team exactly what types of customers you want them to be targeting. So you're not wasting your time just going around and knocking doors for like mom and pop shops, right? You're really dialing in on those processes. And one of the ways that like we personally have dialed into our process has been by maximizing our CRM. We have our guys putting notes in on all of the customers that they talk to. And we also, one of the things that we have our guys do is we have them ask culture based questions. So I think all of us understand that culture is really important when it comes to hiring your employees. We take that same lens when we're trying to figure out whether someone is an ideal customer for us and whether it's going to be a mutual fit. So we're asking kind of similar questions about whether or not they are interested in the way that we're doing our process, right? So, like, we're asking whether they're safety conscious because we are, right? We are going to have our teams doing everything that is required by OSHA and probably a little bit more because we care about our guys and we want them to go home at the end of the day. And I want my customer to care about my guys going home at the end of the day too, right? Um, we're also making sure that they actually have a problem that they need to have solved. It is a big waste of time to go do a bunch of inspections on roofs that don't actually have a problem that the customer is interested in getting fixed. Sometimes they are completely aware that they have a problem and they're not interested in fixing it. They're looking for short term solutions, but they don't actually want a permanent one. Um, and then, that has really helped us not move into spaces where we're just sending out bids and basically doing unpaid consultant work, because that's exactly what's happening in those situations. You are doing free consulting work for people that have no interest in actually purchasing your services.
That's right. So true. It's free consulting, and a lot of us get stuck in that. But that mindset of realizing that's what I'm doing helps shift you into this pillar properly. So, um, some of your results that is to speak of, Stephanie, go ahead and share.
Yeah, so 60% of our revenue actually comes from repeat customers now. A lot of that is based on us coming in and doing long-term service work that ultimately does turn into re-roofing work for us. But for the most part, it is that we are consistently showing up for the same people who own multiple properties across our service areas, and we are their preferred roofer of choice. And it's because we've developed a relationship where they trust that we're going to come in and we're going to do work well, work right, and work safely.
Yep. And you've been able to repeat that eight-figure mark with an increasingly year over year of more repeat work and than you did in the beginning. And then you also have a bunch of competitors coming in where the old model you would have broken down because of the way you went about it, but instead you went deeper with clients, with the right clients, and those clients view you as their roofer versus they trust anybody who's coming that's new to town. So I just think that like that just speaks to the strategy and how like how important it is and how safe it is for the business, for your business to do this. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
So, just for a little context, our market where we are, when I started at this company in 2017, there were 7 roofers that were registered with the BBB. Today, there are 70 roofers registered with the BBB in our same area, and that doesn't include any of the people that come in from the DFW Metroplex to also do work. We're about 2 hours outside of Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, just so that everybody's tracking. So realistically, there are probably more roofers that we're competing with than we even realize because they're just not actually existing in our market, but they are coming into our market share, which means bare minimum, if every one of those companies gets 1 roof a month, that's 69 roofs that we're not getting, right? That's 69 service calls that we're not getting. But that's okay because we don't want all of those 69 roofs or 69 service calls because a lot of those are probably not our ideal customers, right? We're targeting the customers that we want to work with. And because of that, even with all of this additional competition that's come into our market area, we're still able to maintain our revenue numbers and even increase our profitability within that because we're strategically targeting the customers that make the most sense for us.
So guys, I know this sounds like common sense, but common sense is not common practice. Not everybody's doing you like and we I know people on this call, you guys are not doing this, but you know you should. So this is like a really good reminder to reinforce like the discipline needed. I remember my days at a large roofing company in South Florida, and there was like this biz dev girl that was on the team, and she was building relationships, and she was like saying how this GC friend was like trying to get this company to bid, and like it was like this same thing. The owner in the sales meeting was like, "No, we are not bidding that job. We are not bidding with them." It was just like, and then she ended up getting fired because she just kept pulling him in and try to veer them off course. And it just requires a lot of discipline here. So just wanted to uh, emphasize that. So thanks for the question, Ingrid. We could definitely we'll get to that in a bit because I appreciate the question. But let's make sure we're pumping through and we'll answer your question here in a bit. So let's talk about building revenue through relationships. What does that actually look like? And so the problem is most contractors treat service as repair work. You fix the leak, you send the invoice, you move on. Sales generates revenue, service just handles issues. That's kind of like the problem most people have when they think of service. And the consequence is it's very transactional. It's not a relationship that's long term. There's not a recurring revenue component. There's no trust equity in the clients. They end up shopping every re-roof quote you give them, and you're constantly having to reacquire the same customer. Um, that's reactive revenue. So like that, my point being is if you're just trying to sell re-roofing and if someone asks you to repair it, then you'll do it. That's going to cause a problem in your business model. And so the relational way is by thinking, hey, I want to land an account, not sell a job. So if I'm thinking, no, I'm not trying to win this job, I'm trying to win this account. Well, if this is the right account, what do you do with an account? You service them, on an ongoing basis, and you try to help understand their long-term goals, and you try to become that partner that helps them, which often is going to look a lot like preventative maintenance versus reactive repair work and things like that. So we'd love to hear Stephanie and Aaron, you guys speak to how when it's done right through relationships, what happens and what's happened with the Avco.
Stephanie, I
Yeah.
know you'll jump in here. But as you jump in, one thing that I think your team does a really exceptional job at and is not common practice is asking for referrals and kind of asking once you've had a great relationship or a great project that you worked on with someone, if they know anyone who might be looking for to replace their roof in the near term, or if they know someone who they trust in this market who might be looking for some work done on their roof. This applies to any sale outside of roofing as well, but you want more repeat customers or you want more lookalikes to the
Mhm.
people who you love working with. So the best way to do that is to proactively ask for those referrals or
Mhm.
references. And I'm curious, Stephanie, if you guys have figured out a way to add that into part of your kind of sales cycle once you're at the kind of final end of closing that project? How do you make sure that you're getting those lookalike customers in your pipeline as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great to point out, and I think that brings up an important point too, which is that none of this at all would be possible if it wasn't for the amazing team of people that work at Avco. I definitely did not do any of this by myself. I probably did about this much of it by myself, and so much of it has been a team effort. So one of the things that we do that might be a little different is that we actually took a lot of inspiration from the way that our residential company handled sales. They have something that they call the Great Eight, which is where you go and door knock the eight houses immediately around the house that you just did. And we follow the same process in commercial. We're going to stop by those businesses. We're going to say, hey, we're going to make sure that they know that work is happening nearby and that if we're noisy or maybe a little messy, we're going to prepare those people for the worst case scenario, right? And then none of those things are going to happen. And then we're going to stop by like a week or two later when we finish our project and we're going to apologize for the noise that they didn't hear and the trash that they didn't see. And then we're just going to let them know if they need anything, we're more than happy to help them out with it. We do ask for referrals. One of the things that we do is, we're going to ask for Google reviews. I think sometimes people really underestimate how important those reviews can be on the commercial side. It is something that almost all residential companies do well, but a lot of commercial companies just don't think to ask for it. The average person is going to look for their commercial roofer no different than they look for any other type of work. And they're probably going to go to the internet first, to Google. And then especially now with the rise of ChatGPT and things like that, like people are just going into ChatGPT and they're asking for a list of roofers to call. And so AI crawlers are obviously all over the internet, looking for key information. So whatever you can do to help with your reviews, that's going to be beneficial in those situations. And those are just a couple things that we do a little differently than a lot of commercial roofing companies. The things that we do that are very similar to other commercial roofing companies, that I think a lot of us are doing, but maybe not maximizing on it, is that, service is a major driver of our referral network for us. So one of the reasons that we call it service is because it is about customer service, right? If it was just about putting repairs on or dealing with warranty work, we'd call it the warranty department, or we'd call it the repair department. But we call it the service department because what we're doing is providing people with customer service. And really what we're trying to do is create a concierge service model that is offering a full service solution for our customer base. So when you're targeting people like property management companies, or let's just use an example, a lot of companies that we work for are chains, right? They're either a chain of banks or a chain of restaurants, but it's going to be an entity that has multiple properties. What we're doing is we're trying to handle their service issues. So when you're dealing with things like restaurants, they're going to have a lot of equipment on the roof that is not roofing itself, right? There's going to be electrical, there's going to be plumbing, there's going to be HVAC. And more often than not, your roof leaks are coming from your HVACs or from plumbing, right? It's a drain issue, it's an air conditioning issue. No one has come and changed the drip pan, or it's a condensation line leaking, something along those lines. So what we have done is we have partnered, and this is where I'm going to tell you your partnerships really matter here. But we've partnered with trades that we commonly encounter on the roof anyways, right? So like a lot of times in the re-roof process, I just need a pipe to be put in for plumbing, or I need a new electrical conduit run, or the HVAC just requires some work. And so we have an HVAC technician come out. We're partnering with these same companies when it comes to service work so that when we go out to a job site and I find after having sent a technician on site that the leak is coming from something internal in the HVAC system, what a lot of commercial roofers are going to do is they're going to make a report and they're going to send it to the customer and they're going to be like, it's not our problem. It's not the roof. You need to call an HVAC company. What we're going to do is we're going to call and we're going to say, hey, we've done a really thorough inspection. This doesn't appear to be an issue with the roof itself. It looks like it's coming from the HVAC. We're going to go ahead and coordinate with an HVAC company to come on site to handle this for you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send them one bill. They're not going to get a bill from the HVAC company. They're just going to get a bill from us that's going to talk about their roof inspection, the HVAC repair work that was actually done, and then any future recommendations for them.
Mm.
The benefit of that is that you become a one-stop solution for your customer, which means that they're going to call you for all kinds of stuff that might not actually be the roofing itself, but they know that they can rely on you to take care of it for them. A lot of it does end up being turnkey work, and you still get to put your margin on top of that.
Mm.
So that's something that we do to really work with the customers and create that like repeatable business model, right? That way they're not worried about double paying somebody because all they see is that they're paying one bill, that they picked the phone up, they called Avco, and Avco dealt with it. What we're also doing is we're housing all of that information for them. So when they go to sell the building or something comes up with a warranty issue with the roof itself, they don't have to contact 3 or 4 or 5 different companies to try to figure out who's been up there and who's done the service work and what service was even done. They can call us and we can provide them with a full report of every invoice they've ever paid and all of the work that's associated with that. One of the
So
things that we also do when we're talking about building revenue through relationships. So if y'all remember a few minutes ago, I said our big thing is that we want to impact communities. That also extends to the way that we market our company. So we don't invest a lot of money into like SEO optimization or digital marketing. Obviously, we have a Facebook presence and we do exist on Google like every other company, but that's not where we're dumping our funds for marketing. Our funds for marketing go into other entities that we believe also impact our community. So we're partnered with the Allen Americans Professional Hockey Club because that is a huge community involvement for the area of North Texas. And we're the headlining sponsor for their Teddy Bear Toss, which is a Christmas event where if you've never been to one, it's fun. But basically, the first time that they score a goal in the hockey game, everybody throws stuffed animals onto the rink and those get collected and then they're donated to an orphanage. We do a campaign every year called Avco Gives Back. We take 1% of profit out of every job that we do that goes into a fund, and then we allow our community to vote on what nonprofit organizations in town we're going to divvy that money up to. And we divvy it up based on the percentage of votes, right? So, like, we're not choosing where the money goes. We allow the community to choose where that impact is going to go and do the most good for them. And so, like, that's just another leg of kind of what we do to try to make sure that we're really connecting with the people and taking care of the people in our community that are going to want to continue to call us and ask us to come back and work with them.
so good. Um, Something that I know we picked up from some peers in the industry that is a powerful insight is that for every dollar spent on preventative maintenance, it costs $27 to fix reactively. Can you just speak to that for a second? And then I know we got 12 minutes left, and so I want to probably power through with the final slides and leave a little bit of Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I talk a lot and I apologize for that. But so we ran some numbers, and I actually got this information from a friend at another roofing company that's based in the Northeast. But collectively, we all kind of found that if you spend for $1 that you spend on preventative maintenance, you're essentially saving yourself $26 of retroactive costs that would be associated with a real leak repair. And that's going to be assuming that it didn't leak on any product. There was no leaking on computers or anything electrical, mechanical that you would also need to fix. This is just raw cost, right? This is the cost of paying someone to do a regular inspection, and maybe they find that the caulking is starting to deteriorate. So they go ahead and rake it back and reseal it while they're already on site versus getting the phone call that caulking had deteriorated and it is actually leaked inside of the building. And so now, in addition to needing to rake back and reseal the penetration, they're having to change out ceiling tiles, and there is water that's in the insulation. And so maybe they need to take part of the insulation out and get that swapped. There's water on the carpet, and so they need to bring in fans or whatever else that they might need to do. And so it gets really expensive when you're retroactively fixing things. And so one of the things that we also do for our customers is we offer preventative maintenance. We don't call it preventative maintenance because just like with a car, if you don't change the oil, it's not preventative maintenance, it's required maintenance to keep your warranty intact. And we explain that to our customers as well, right? So like these roof inspections that we're doing for you every year that you are paying us to do, it's not preventative. It's literally what it requires to keep your warranty intact and to make sure that you're mitigating your risks as an owner.
So good. So some of the results that they've seen at Avco is about 15% of revenue from service, which is really good. Um, Definitely, I know this is only going to just increase year over year. 60% total repeat revenue, strong property manager relationships. Clients call Avco first, right? It's not like a competitive bid situations are reducing because they trust you. You're their roofer, you're their one-stop shop. So service creates relationships, which creates re-roof, which creates more service. That's predictable revenue. The third pillar we could touch on, and as I give Stephanie maybe a breather for a minute, is engineering stability. And a lot of contractors in commercial rely on storm cycles, insurance work, GC bid invites, market timing. And so the consequence, you have those swings and feast or famine seasons, hiring instability. You got people at cruise you brought on and now are looking for work. They leave, find some other work. Then you got, you need, it's tough. You panic. It's not ideal situation. But when it's done right, you have that balanced revenue mix, repeat private clients, public work, operational discipline, and margin protection. And it's not accidental, it's designed. I think the big shift here that I loved hearing from Stephanie is like having, adding public work because, the government is always funded, and we'll be able to, build and repair and replace government buildings. And so there's always going to be resources. And so to get involved is not maybe as overwhelming as you may think, but it creates stability. Why don't you talk a bit about that shift and how you've added public work to your portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was always really afraid of public work. It looked very daunting. I had heard that it was super competitive. And anyone who's ever dealt with like a general contractor and done new construction work knows that things are not often what they seem at the beginning when you've put your bid together. Usually someone has gone and built something incorrectly in the process, and there's going to be a change order, and it becomes a headache very quickly, right? And you're not the one that's in charge of the schedule. However, what I actually ended up realizing is that public work, it does require you to have your ducks in a row, but it means that you're competing with contractors that also have their ducks in a row, right? So like when you're doing new construction work or negotiated work or restoration work, you're competing against anyone and everyone who puts a magnet on their vehicle and calls themselves a roofer. When you're doing public work, you're working with other companies that have proven that they carry the required insurances, that they are backed by a manufacturer, that they are financially able to secure a payment and performance bond. So you're competing with people that are on the same playing field as you. So, like, yes, it is competitive, but I think people view the competition the wrong way. They think it's competitive in the sense that, like, it's just automatically going to go to whoever the lowest person is. And that means that someone can come in and really undercut you. And the reality is that in most of these bid situations, it might still go to the lowest bidder. It kind of depends on who it is that you're working with in the process. Sometimes the entity itself does get a say so in who ultimately gets selected as the winner. But the bids are going to be off by $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. It's really small amounts that you might be over or under another contractor because all of you guys are going to be good, reputable contractors, right? It actually usually doesn't matter who's going to perform the work because everyone that you're competing with is a qualified company and the customer is still ultimately going to be taken care of. Um, and we found that by adding this, it does really give us a consistent backlog of business, especially because bonded work is publicized. You will usually know months to years in advance that a bond has been funded, and it gives you opportunities to build the relationship with the entity, right? Maybe you're bidding out schoolwork, it gives you a year to talk to the maintenance guy. To get to know other people that are on the school board, to have conversations with people that are in the community with you, um, to work on building that relationship before it ever comes time to actually bid the project, which is not something you get really with any other type of work in this industry.
Such great insights. Um, Yeah, so great. So in the chat, go ahead and just, I want you to think about like what's the kind of your biggest aha so far from Stephanie, Aaron and I's talk today. So what's your biggest aha as we kind of start to wrap this up, and we might have a couple time for some questions, but the results we've spoken to this: strong community positioning, increased profitability, revenue stability despite competition, sustained eight-figure revenue. So we covered this: stop chasing, start choosing. Service is a relationship engine, and stability is designed, not hoped for. Um, Commercial growth becomes predictable when you stop chasing projects and start building relationships. So when these all work together, great things happen. So the real takeaway, we've mentioned it a few more times, and it's really, really good to hear that it explained by you, Stephanie. It's awesome. So if you want help implementing any of this, most contractors leave sessions inspired and nothing's changed 90 days later. If you want help installing this, we have a few options for you to take some steps. Tyrael, Aaron, the CEO and co-founder, is here. Tyrael helps you connect estimating, service, invoicing in one platform, capture real-time job data from the field, deliver professional client-ready reports, improve scheduling, dispatch visibility, protect profitability with better cost tracking, and it's built specifically for commercial roofing operations. And so you can get a 30-minute tailored demo right here. And I'll have a final slide as well. So it gives us a chance to do both. And then if you want to work with SDG, we're a sales training and coaching and consulting company, and we want to help you design that revenue engine by training and coaching your team, helping you with your strategy, your ICP, and creating that consistency across your approach. And we have a lot of fun doing it between courses, on-sites, role play simulators that we have in place that really does a great job. So we can go ahead and book a call with me. And so on this call, I'll have a clear understanding where your some areas are weak and what the opportunities are. So um, meet with me on the left, or Aaron and his team on the right. Scan the QR code. Um, we'd love to meet with you, and I know we'd love to serve you. Um, Appreciate you guys. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap for Stephanie? I think we had a question earlier about how do you get your customers, or how do you go about finding your customers and targeting them? Is it just through
Targeting the
networking?
customer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're part of several BNI groups. In addition to that, everybody that comes into contact with me finds out that I work in roofing and that I'm happy to do whatever I can to help them. You are the biggest advocate for your company. 99% of the time, the sales team is great. They're definitely going to go out and sell, but most of you are going to be either CEOs or high level operators, and you are the biggest advocate for your company. So make sure that people know who you are, what you do, the kind of company that you are. And I'm going to tell you that's really going to be the best way that you can connect. Also, there are several programs out there that you can use to get into contact with customers. I don't know. I think we use Reonomy as one of the ones that we've used in the past. There's also Zoom Info, things like that are going to help you get into touch with decision makers. Um, and then I think I saw another question. right underneath that one, asking about when do we bring in a GC or do we act as one? We do act as a GC on smaller scopes of work that are going to involve service specifically. We will bring general contractors in if it's a larger scope or it's just outside of our wheelhouse. Like, I'm not going to handle steel erection. Pretty much anything that's going to require like high level liability, we're going to bring a GC in for that. And then every state's different. Some states require licenses to be a GC, some don't. So definitely look into what the legal requirements are in the state that you work in. I don't want to advise you to do anything that's going to get you into trouble.
Good.
With legal
Wow.
disclaimer there.
Yeah. And then I know that some of you might have other questions. So please feel free to find me on LinkedIn and send me a DM if you have a question that you didn't have time to ask today.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining, Stephanie, and for everyone,
Yeah.
and Ryan.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, this is great. You were awesome. What a rock star. Well, thank you so much again for everyone for jumping on. And if you guys want the recording, just send Aaron and I an email. And we'd be glad to serve you if you guys have some pain points around growing your business. So go ahead and get after it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
day.